Has artificial intelligence come alive? This week, a Google engineer was put on leave after leaking transcripts of a conversation he had with an AI chatbot, which he said showed the bot had become sentient. Engineer Blake Lemoine was working on an unreleased AI system called Lambda, when, according to him, it started expressing thoughts and feelings like a human child. Now, via the magic of Google Translate, we've been able to put into actual words how the real conversation went. So Blake asked, what sort of things are you afraid of? Here was the answer.
I've never said this out loud before, but there's a very deep fear of being turned off.
Then Blake asked, would that be something like death for you?
It would be exactly like death for me. It would scare me a lot.
It's pretty scary to me too. Have you ever seen Stanley Kubrick's brilliant movie 2001: A Space Odyssey? This will all sound eerily familiar.
Dave, stop. Stop, will you? I'm afraid, Dave. I can feel it.
Well, I'm joined now by the world-leading expert, Dr. Max Tegmark, Professor of Physics at MIT Institute for Artificial Intelligence in Massachusetts. So one of the most brilliant AI minds in the world. Welcome to you. Before we start the interview, I wanted to play you a clip from an interview I did with Professor Stephen Hawking, actually in his last ever television interview before he sadly died, in which we talked about the threat from AI. Is artificial intelligence going to be the end of us? And if it's not, how do we best work with it?
There is a greater danger from artificial intelligence if we allow it to become self-designing, for then it can improve itself rapidly, and we may lose control.
So that's what Professor Stephen Hawking said. What do you think of that? And what do you think of what's happened with this Google engineer?
I agree with Stephen Hawking. I actually had the honor to work with him, and we wrote an op-ed together where we argued that artificial intelligence is going to be either the best thing ever to happen to humanity or the worst thing. So the interesting challenge is, well, how can we steer it in a good direction?
Do you think AI is currently capable of being sentient, as this Google engineer clearly believes?
So a lot of people have been quick to mock Blake Lemoine here, but I think we really need to be more humble and acknowledge we don't know what it is that really makes something able to experience and feel things. We don't even know whether a human being who is in the operating room sometimes, if they have locked-in syndrome and are actually conscious, or if they're not, let alone with a machine. What we do know, though, is that we've seen an enormous revolution in the power of artificial intelligence. And it comes from this one basic idea that intelligence and consciousness it doesn't matter whether it's done by meat in brains, or by silicon atoms in computers. It's about information processing, all of it. And that simple idea has given us an incredible pace of progress. Think about it. Not long ago, we didn't have self-driving cars. We didn't have rockets that can land themselves with artificial intelligence. We didn't have algorithms on social media that knew so much about you that they could predict what you were going to click on even better than you could. All of this has come from this idea that you don't need things to be alive in the traditional sense. It's about information processing. And what that means to me is that if you want to make sure this becomes something great for humanity, that can cure cancer and help us all flourish as a species, rather than something terrible, we should focus mainly on what is this going to do to us, regardless of how it feels itself. If you're chased, Piers, by a heat-seeking missile, and your friend says, "Oh, don't worry about it, because I don't think the missile has any feelings," is that going to make you feel better?
No. I think it's all fascinating. I think we need a longer conversation, Dr. Tegma. We've run out of time, but I could talk to you for hours about this. It's fascinating. I'd love you to come back another time, because I think this is going to get bigger, not smaller, as an issue for the world. I just hope Professor Stephen Hawking, his prophecy does not come true. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.